podcast on addressing sensitive issues in classroom.
Hello everyone. Welcome to this podcast on addressing critical issues. I am Shaili and we have with us Simantini to discuss that crucial aspect of classroom pedagogy which probably raises more questions than it answers. Hello Simantini.
Hello everyone.
So, what do you think? Was the teacher correct in not addressing the issue then and there? In other words, was the government's decision to create a sense of normalcy in children justified?
Shaili, we need to understand this incident in a larger framework of the system and not in isolation. Admittedly, this instance had an immediate context of violence and the official order may have been partially justified. But several important questions still remain unanswered. On the whole, there is an unstated policy to push contentious issues under the carpet. Knowledge in schools is treated as neutral, but real life is not. It compels us to engage, to take positions. The incident quoted earlier was in a language class, but in social sciences, issues like these are bound to be common. In fact, the very purpose of social sciences is to study social phenomena scientifically. And so, asking critical questions or encouraging children to raise difficult issues is part of the purpose of teaching social science. But the usual tendency is to either forbid taking a real life issue or to pretend issues don't exist, or at the most to pay lip service and make them non-controversial by using statements like all religions and castes are equal, treat girls and boys equally, or plant trees, save water. The underlying assumptions are that teachers will not be able to competently resolve such issues, that these issues are too complex for children, or that it will politicize education. But as Professor Krishna Kumar points out, psychologists stress the need in children to see the world around them in an orderly and coherent manner. And this cannot be done without confronting and understanding issues related with everyday experiences, including situations of conflict. They may vocalize or not, but they expect adult support in order to make sense of conflict and find resolution in their mind. They need adult help because they don't have the details and the concepts that help them to realize why the conflict arose and how it is being shaped.
I guess that makes confronting socio-political issues like this even more important for a social science teacher, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, social sciences are introduced as a separate subject to students entering and passing adolescence and early maturity. At this stage of development, there is an inherent need for self-identity, shaping of opinions, and taking sides. This need must not be postponed or controlled, even if we adults may wish to do so. This is the age during which children spend more time outside the home with peers. They are exposed to mass media, engage in social media, and they make their own meaning about things they encounter. But in absence of a culture where they are made to be comfortable to discuss the experiences, children need to pretend. Children learn to play games according to adult rules, particularly in school. They vocalize and express only those things that are permissible and pretend that they see the world only as adults want them to see. They learn that as adults they can say things one way but act differently. As teachers, we understand such dynamics, but we also continue the game. More often than none, the guard slips and the curtain lifts. While most children may not openly express their mind, they form strong opinions and take sides. They may even create situations that lead to an unexpected crisis. For instance, by isolating or harassing a classmate because of a caste or class or language. When such things happen, we are compelled to intervene and deal with the issues for which we are not sufficiently prepared for. We look at these instances in an isolated manner and blame someone or take sides with individuals involved in the situation.
Yes, that certainly seems to be the case. But why is it so? And in this context, what should the role of a teacher be as against what it usually is?
And let us acknowledge that we also accept the role of the teacher as a powerless person, incapable of doing the right thing. The distrust we feel about children's ability to deal with complex situations, the system more than often expresses the same distrust in teachers. The policies outline the lofty goals of creating good, independent-minded citizens, but expect teachers only to do the job of transacting the given content. We are actively or subtly prevented from letting real life enter classrooms. It is imagined that when the midnight clock strikes, the child will suddenly become a perfect citizen as she turns 18. By and large, as we grow into adulthood, we carry on without proactively facing issues, without understanding the complexities around us, and without taking a stand. Then when wrongs are committed in our name, we remain paralyzed, looking for others to decide things for us. And since we don't have the ability to recognize problems, we remain incapable of resolving them. But this doesn't have to be the case. We need to reflect on our role as transformative individuals, aiming at creating thoughtful citizens. This is also stated in our educational policies.
Thank you, Simantini, for sharing your thoughts with us, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.